give me the goddamn respect you would damn well want yourself.
Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. As we do our first program of 2021, fittingly, it is about the Dallas Cowboys, and they're coming up short at a most critical time for a 23-19 Week 16 loss at NFC rival New York Giants. Now, even though this game was predicated on what happened later on, obviously the Cowboys' chances of getting into the playoffs was the Washington football team defeated the Philadelphia Eagles. However, even that was rendered mute because the Cowboys played in a pathetic performance in a win and you're in playoff game. And we're going to uncover a lot of layers with this thing, but let's jump right into our stats. Quarterback Andy Dalton, 29 of 47 passes, 243 yards, no touchdowns, one interception. Andy Dalton, our leading rusher, 7 carries for 48 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, 14 carries for 42 yards and 1 touchdown. Tight end Dalton Schultz, 7 catches, 70 yards. Michael Gallup, 4 catches, 49 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches and 43 yards. And Amari Cooper, 6 catches, 41 yards. On the defensive side, Jalen Smith, 9 solo tackles out of 10 total. Sean Lee, 6 total tackles, 3 solo. Trayvon Diggs, 4 total tackles and 4 solo. And Chidobe Awuzie, 1. And we'll even throw in DeMarcus Lawrence, 4 total tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for a loss. Folks, you're going to hear people on sports talk radio talking about that Mike McCarthy was a catch, that Mike McCarthy should have challenged, a questionable fumble. But we don't look at that at Chin Check Radio. We believe in handling your business where these games are not determined, nor do they come down to one play. And the Dallas Cowboys played awful in the first half of football. And to come out flat in a game like this, where if you win, your shots of getting in. But I warned everybody last week. I really warned everybody last week, and I said, be mindful of celebrating too soon, because we've seen this pattern before with the Dallas Cowboys, most famously or most notably last season. Played one of their best games versus the Los Angeles Rams, had a win in your end game against a ravaged Philadelphia Eagles team who literally brought in guys off the street, and they failed to score an offensive touchdown. And the very next week, they were like world beater against the then Washington Redskins. So I knew, let's not party and celebrate too soon, because we've seen this before. Let's go back to the early 2000s, during the Jason Garrett era, 3 straight years of win and you're in the NFC East by beating an NFC East opponent. And for 3 straight years, the Dallas Cowboys lost. So I'm not going to replay the Gallman fumble, who should have recovered. It shouldn't even got to that point, and I'll even go deeper than that. It shouldn't even got to the point where you have to win and need help to get in. I believe in winning your ball games, handling your business, and let the rest take care of itself. I am not one for win and need help to get in. If you win your ball games, you do what you're supposed to do. This is not even an issue. The Kansas City Chiefs did not have to worry about winning and in. Nor did the Buffalo Bills, nor did the Green Bay Packers, nor did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No, did none of these. Even the Cleveland Browns won their games. Obviously, a little help from the Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers didn't need any help. So we look at it as you win your games that you're supposed to win. You don't have to worry about needing help from anybody else. Now, again, for the Cowboys to know at that time they played, 1 p.m. kickoff, whoever won this game had a shot of getting into the playoffs. And to me, that was disgusting. That was a putrid performance. It's pretty much been this way all season. Mike McCarthy not having the team ready to play. So now the question is, where do the Cowboys go from here? So 2020 is now in the bag. They should be packing their bags if they haven't packed their bags already. I don't understand this whole doing exit interviews thing. You already have enough tape on the field to see who needs to be playing or not. So what is the team moving forward? What do they do? Well, like I texted some friends earlier, some asses need to be fired. And I'm going to even start with Mike McCarthy. The team took a step backwards. Now, yes, I understand injuries, Dak Prescott getting hurt. I understand that. But even when Dak Prescott was playing, they were not exactly lighting the world on fire. Let's not lose sight of that fact. They weren't exactly world beaters when Prescott was playing. And as a matter of fact, they actually had a losing record when Dak Prescott was playing. And why? Because a lot of games they fell behind. And if it wasn't for an wild onside kick that the Falcons could not recover, by the time Dak Prescott went out, the Cowboys could have been staring at 0-4. And we're talking about poor offensive numbers, a defense that couldn't stop a running nose, as well as an offense who kept giving the ball like some whore on Friday night. Yes, I said it. So clearly the team was not playing well, and this is what we stay focused at Chin Check Radio, because a lot of other Cowboys fans, and we said this before, a lot of us in Cowboys Nation are very delusional. And Cowboys fans now are thinking to themselves, well, maybe if we had Dak Prescott, things would have turned out better. No, it wouldn't, because even with Dak Prescott, they had a losing record. A lot of his statistics were empty calories, again, games that they were behind. The Falcons game, the Browns game, I'll give you a point, the Seahawks game. So we're talking games that they were behind that they fought to come back. So they were not even playing well even when they had Dak Prescott. Ezekiel Elliott was fumbling the damn football. So Mike McCarthy, this is not what the team expected, especially with the type of pedigree that Mike McCarthy had with him. And again, and if you go back and check out an old broadcast that we did, we talked about how Mike McCarthy would have been a good addition to the Cowboys because he had the pedigree, he had the winning record. And it wasn't like a Green Bay team that kind of fell off. This was a Cowboys team that was 8-8 and really had the talent to take the next level. And that's why Mike McCarthy was brought in, to take the team to the next level. And in fact, they took a step back. So what happens going forward? Do you sign Dak Prescott to a long-term deal, or do you sign the franchise tag? I'm going to sign the franchise tag. Not ready to franchise him just yet, because we've seen when we're locked into these bad contracts what's going to happen. And again, they need pieces. I'm going to do the long-term deal, but we're going to cut costs other places. Andy Dalton, he played serviceable. The Red Rifle, I didn't see it that much. He played serviceable. His interviews after the game sounded like he wanted to try to get a starting job somewhere. I really don't see that. If you want to bring him back on a cheap deal, you can, but I wouldn't mind shopping for another quarterback. Quarterback Ben DiNucci should have been off the damn team after the Philadelphia Eagles game. Garrett Gilbert really didn't play that bad. Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke, brother, we got to talk about his money. Again, I'm glad he got his money. We did a broadcast talking about him getting his money, but I'm not ready to get rid of Zeke just yet, and here's why. When your offensive line is banged up, when you're down 3 starters, 2 of them all pros and pro bowlers, one of them is right borderline pro bowler, it's going to be hard to do. We're talking about a makeshift offensive line, so I'm not going to bang on Zeke too much. Clearly, he was injured and banged up throughout the season, because when he missed that one game, he came back, played well. And even today, he kept pulling himself out of the game. He was hurt. He just didn't seem right. So we're going to give Zeke one more season, one more full season, hopefully behind a healthy and replenished offensive line, because you're starting rookies and guys who seem to be overwhelmed by the moment. So we're going to give Zeke one more season, and now the time to start discussing this contract. I would definitely keep Tony Pollard. I don't have a problem with Tony Pollard. I think he is a serviceable backup. Our wide receivers, I think we're good there. Amari Cooper, again, he deserves his money, and I'm all for paying athletes. Do I think he's worth top 5 receiver money? No, but he's a damn good receiver, and I believe his stats actually aren't bad this season. Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. Now people are going to tell me we'll trade one of the receivers to get some help. I don't necessarily believe in that. I think you can keep all 3 wide receivers, and your offense is supposed to be a track meet with that type of talent on the outside, while Gallup seems to be more of a deep threat. You have CeeDee Lamb running those crossing routes across the middle. I think if he can expand his game a little bit to incorporate more of the vertical passing game, I think, that'll make the offense even much more explosive. So I don't have a problem with some of the players on the team. I like Cedric Wilson. He's definitely serviceable. The tight ends are serviceable. They're supposed to be getting one of the tight ends back who signed a huge contract, in the offseason, but I do like Dalton Schultz, so I think he played well. On the offensive line, here's where they have to make some serious decisions here. Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith is going to the Hall of Fame. He is one of the best tackles of his time. No questions asked. He is if you were to carefully construct a tackle in the lab, it definitely would be Tyron Smith. No questions, no ifs, and buts about that. You saw how valuable Tyron Smith was when he was injured. See the Atlanta Falcons game, Adrian Claiborne, 6 sacks where they played the Falcons. However, he's been missing more and more time. There's more wear and tear on the body. He's been in the league, I believe he was drafted in 2010, if I'm not mistaken, 2010, 2011. And a good 10 years of literally playing against some of the best pass rushers and more than held his own. But now the question is, do we have to keep dealing with these injuries? Again, if it ain't back, it's hips, it's this, it's that, and only played a few games this season. Clearly, when you're battle worn and you have the miles on the body, you're not the same player that you were. Now, a year of rest. If they want to bring him back, I'll bring him back on one more year. And other than that, it's time to start looking for his replacement in the draft. I would like that particular tackle out of Oregon, but I believe with the Cowboys draft, he might be gone by then. But the Cowboys, there's another tackle out of Alabama. I wouldn't mind getting him, but that's what the Cowboys need, and they start replenishing the offensive line. Your centers, Tyler Biadasz and Joe Looney. Not bad, serviceable. Tyler Biadasz, I thought, did a solid job of kind of being thrown in there at the last minute. Of course, a lot of people, they want to reference Travis Frederick with him both coming from Wisconsin and Wisconsin being a nice little pipeline, and more specifically the Big Ten, a nice pipeline of offensive linemen who like to run the football. Because the Big Ten playing in the colder conference, as the weather gets colder, you're definitely going to run the ball more. So you look for a bunch of graders across the middle. So Tyler Biadasz, not bad. Joe Looney, not bad. Still a drop-off from one Travis Frederick, but not bad at all. Zach Martin, I don't have a problem with Zach Martin. Again, he's another one. He's getting older, a little bit banged up this season. 7 seasons out of Notre Dame, drafted in 2014, same year as Aaron Donald. Of course, how different things would have been if Jerry Jones had it his way by drafting Johnny Manziel versus Zach Martin. Zach Martin, too, can make a case of going to the Hall of Fame one day. We're talking about a guy who came in the league and definitely did his thing from the very beginning. But again, getting a little bit older, a lot of wars in the trenches. So now that makes you wonder, 1-2 years from now, start looking for his replacement. So I would bring back Zach Martin. Connor Williams. Believe it or not, I've seen the growth of Connor Williams. I think he probably was there, and I hate the term most consistent, but he obviously was the healthiest lineman that they had. The thing with Connor Williams, when he gets beat on certain plays, he gets beat bad. But all in all, he's been consistent. It's just that when he gets beat, he gets beaten badly. So, not bad. He's bulked up. He seems to fill in nicely, maturing physically, adding more quality muscle, adding more quality size. Because I wasn't the biggest fan of Connor Williams when he came out of Texas, because I go back to the opener in 2018. He was literally being picked up off the ground and driven back into the quarterback. So I wasn't the biggest fan of Connor Williams, but he's definitely starting to play well. Brandon Knight, serviceable backup. The one guy who needs to be escorted out of the building is Terrence Steele. Why he's on the team, undrafted free agent out of Texas Tech, was not impressed, did not play well at all, was repeatedly benched throughout the season, only because of injuries is why he even played some ball. So I would definitely get him the hell out the damn building. Connor McGovern, not bad. Even though he's a second-year player, it really was his rookie season because he was hurt all of last season. And here's why it is so important for the Dallas Cowboys to rebuild that offensive line. And really, it was a weakness this year and has traditionally been a strength, at least within the last half a decade. Because for the next, at least, the next 5 or 6 years, you'll be playing a Washington football team that has a bunch of studs on their defensive line. Chase Young, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, and I know I'm forgetting another guy. You're going to be facing that front four for a long time. At least you figure these guys are on rookie deals. So we're talking 5 or 6 years, probably franchise one of them. So at least a good 4 to 5 years of facing a Washington football team of guys who are all high first-round picks. And they manhandled the Cowboys not once, but twice this season. So, of course, a team with their strength is their defensive line is going to be a problem. And that's something that they're going to have to shore up this offensive line to compete with a team like the Washington football team. Let's also take a look at the New York Giants. Watching today's game today, the New York Giants dominated the Cowboys' offensive lines, no questions asked. Them being bad for so long, they have a bunch of quality high first-round picks on their defensive line. So even in your division, you're going to be playing defensive lines with high first-round picks, and not even forgetting the Philadelphia Eagles with Fletcher Cox, because you saw when Fletcher Cox went out how easy the defense became. And you have Pro Bowls on the Eagles defense. You have Fletcher Cox, who pretty much is second or third best defensive tackle in the league. So this is why it is paramount for Will McClay and Jerry Jones to sit down, well, Stephen Jones and Will McClay to sit down and discuss what happens going forward. Because again, the Cowboys have to build and solidify that offensive line, because you're going to be facing some fearsome defensive fronts at least for the next 5 or 6 years. And you don't want your quarterbacks getting knocked all over the damn football field. So definitely have some work to do there. On the defensive side, Mike Nolan's ass need to be fired too. So Mike McCarthy has to bear the responsibility of bringing in Mike Nolan, who did nothing at his last stops as a defensive coordinator. They need you to just bring in somebody else. We're not going for an experiment. We've seen everything we needed to see. I don't want to hear how they played well for 3 games and they caused more turnovers. Remember, at Chin Check Radio, we put it into perspective. You beat the Bengals, you beat the 49ers, and you beat the Eagles. So again, yeah, you caused turnovers, but who did you really play? Yes, I understand you play NFL competition, or we're talking about the competition that's relative to other quality teams in the league. And I did not see a defense that was able to stop the run consistently. That's a problem. We're talking about when you're giving up 307 yards to the Browns. You have Lamar Jackson running up and down the field. I'm talking about literally up the gut. Lamar Jackson running up the gut. Offensive linemen saying that it was too easy. So on the defensive side, you have Bradley and I guess I would like to see him play more going into next season. I know he's on special teams, but he needs to be playing. I like Dorrance Armstrong. He's pretty solid. Tyrone Crawford. I never understood the big deal about Tyrone Crawford. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I never saw the play on the field that warranted the huge contract that he had. And again, I know we don't base players off of stats, so I don't really look at his sack numbers. But even him leaping off the screen to me, he never did. But everything I keep hearing is he's this dominant player, a leader in the locker room, but I don't see it on the field. So Tyrone Crawford, brother, thank you for coming. Randy Gregory. I will give Randy Gregory credit. I will give him credit. Coming back, we did a program on him, kind of calling him out on his nonsense. But he has played well, so I will give him credit. If he can stay away from his demons, I think he'll be a solid player for them. DeMarcus Lawrence, a $100 million defensive end. I thought he played okay. Not necessarily worth the money. I thought eventually he turned it on. So I thought he turned it on at the right time, especially during those 3-game winning streaks. You can call it scheme, you can call it whatever the case may be, but I thought he stepped his game up. Alvin Smith was the bright spot. Helped the defense for the first 5 or 6 games. I thought he kind of fell off. Again, when you miss all those years of football, are you really the same player, especially at the age of 31? And I remember this guy when he first came into the league, 250, 265, 3'4", outside linebacker, just rushing the passer. He was their best defensive player at the beginning of the season. And I know the Cowboys fans felt that That's kind of bad. A guy who had been out of football for about 4 or 5 years is your best defensive player. So do you bring back Aldon Smith on a 1-year deal? Yes, I don't have a problem with that. Eli Ankou, serviceable. I don't mind him. Neville Gallimore definitely surprised me out of Oklahoma. A good replacement for Malik Collins. I like Neville Gallimore. I thought he had his bright spots during the season. So you definitely bring him back, kind of develop his game some more. I thought he was solid. Francis Bernard, linebacker. We didn't really get to see too much of him. Luke Gifford, we didn't get to see too much of him. Sean Lee. Sean Lee is on my Dallas Cowboys all-time list. We love Sean Lee, great player out of Penn State. During his prime, definitely the heart and soul of that team, but it's time to bid adieu to Sean Lee. It really is time to groom somebody who's going to be on the field, somebody who's not going to be injured. And even today, missing tackles, he seems a little bit slower. Again, that's wear and tear on the body. I think it's time to send Sean Lee and kind of send him packing. He can always stay on as a linebackers coach. I think he'll be a great coach. He knows fundamentals of the game, so I definitely will keep him on it as a linebacker coach. If not, Sean Lee, thank you for coming, and you'll be in the Ring of Honor one day. Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith was an ultimate comeback story. I give Jalen Smith all the credit in the world for coming back from that catastrophic knee injury. The first year he played in 2017, really didn't have a good season. I think he was starting to feel himself. Had pretty much a Pro Bowl caliber season if he didn't make the Pro Bowl in 2018. I don't think he did. I believe he was a snub. But had a great season in 2018, was given a huge contract, and since that time really has not played well. Missing tackles, out of position, getting burnt on plays, celebrating a little bit too damn much on some serious routine plays. He's another one. We're going to give you another season, and we're going to talk about this contract because I have not been impressed with Jalen Smith, especially this season. Joe Thomas, definitely a solid backup linebacker. Leighton Vander Esch. Leighton Vander Esch had one great season in 2018, his rookie season, which is the same year that Jalen Smith, and they were supposed to be the future linebackers of the Cowboys. Both young guys, a year apart. Leighton Vander Esch was a first-round pick. Jalen Smith was a second-round pick. And everybody agrees, had Jalen Smith not gotten hurt in that college football game, he probably would have been a first-round pick. So definitely a lot of talent there in 2018. And since that time, it's kind of regressed. Before Leighton Vander Esch got hurt in 2019, go back and listen to our broadcast. We felt he missed a lot of tackles. His tackling was poor. His form was poor. It was atrocious. And even the same thing this year. And that's not even counting injuries. And to me, he's looking like Sean Lee 2.0. So you put Leighton Vander Esch on notice. You're going into your 4th season next year. I need you in better position. I need you making better tackles. And I need you staying on the field healthy. Because we can't keep missing time like this. It's getting ridiculous. We've gone through this with Sean Lee. That's why he was drafted in the first place. And now we seem to be going through the same damn thing. So Leighton Vander Esch, you're on notice next season. If the play doesn't improve, and if you cannot stay healthy, we're going to have to part ways. The secondary, Chidobe Awuzie has always been solid. I don't think anything spectacular, but he's been solid. I've never been a big Anthony Brown fan. Never been a big fan of Anthony Brown. But for some reason, he'll make a play here and there. I personally wanted him up out the door a long time ago. Trayvon Diggs, again, with him, it's either feast or famine. He'll make a play or he'll definitely get burned. He clearly was their best player in the secondary. So let's see how he continues to grow and mature as a player. CJ Goon, really nothing there. Jordan Lewis, serviceable at best. I'm interested to see what Reggie Robinson does. Our safeties, Donovan Wilson, Xavier Woods. We have Darian It just, again, the safeties, the Cowboys have been looking for a safety. Damn it. I mean, ever since Darren Woodson, Roy Williams, they're okay. Donovan Wilson has had his moments. There's another guy, I can't think his name. He's had his moments. Again, it's nothing that's dominant. Nothing you don't have a Polamalu, a Ed Reed, a Bob Sanders, a Rodney Harris. You don't have that, honey badger coming, a guy who just jumps out at you. You just don't see that. If anything, the safety play has been very inconsistent where they look like world beaters one week and look awful the next week. They look like champs one week and chumps the next week. So that's my issue I have with them, is an inconsistent play in the secondary. So now let's go into draft needs. Draft needs, you start showing up that offensive line. I would definitely draft a tackle. I would definitely at least draft a highly scouted tackle. So let's definitely do that. On the defensive side, you're gonna need linebackers. No questions asked. So you're gonna need some good, solid linebackers and then even draft a quality safety. Period. Those are some of your draft needs. I don't think you need tight ends. I don't think you need receivers. I don't think you need running backs. I think you're good there. I personally would like them big old 340, 350-pound space eaters to anchor that defensive line on first and second down. Have your athletic defensive ends. You know, again, there's something with the defensive scheme. And I'm not going to say the scheme. I'm going to say the personnel. Because, again, we keep firing coaches, keep removing coaches, but yet it's the same players who's still there. So I say draft tackle. Let's start having Tyron Smith's replacement. Let's start drafting tackle. Let us start drafting, maybe do another guard. But again, this is long term. But if we're looking for an immediate fix, it needs to be on the defensive side. Big, large defensive tackles, athletic defensive ends, and linebackers. Shore up that front seven, because guess what? When you're the last ranked team in rushing, that's your front seven being pushed around. Let's just call it for what it is. When you are the last team in rushing defense, you are pretty much getting your butts handed to you. The offense is eating your lunch. So you're going to have to shore up that defense, specifically and to the point, that front seven. This is why Jalen will give you one more year. You ain't cutting the mustard down, but you got to go. Van Der Esch, you ain't cutting the mustard down, but you got to go and start drafting these guys' replacements. Start playing some of these younger guys and start to build and fortify that defense. Because again, when you're giving up 200 yards, 300 yards, you're getting your butts ran on, and this is why you're sitting at home 6-10. This is why you were hoping, if you beat the Giants, hoping and praying that the Redskins would actually beat the Eagles, or the Redskins would lose. That's unacceptable, not the Dallas Cowboys. So this is just our review of Week 16, the Dallas Cowboys, and until the next time, Chin Check Radio signing out.